Hey, welcome back. Okay, so we are here
Hi.
to talk about books, but how have you been? I know that you guys got a lot of snow, right?
Oh my God, we got so much snow. I honestly thought that it was going to be like a joke when they said it was going to snow again. I thought maybe 2 inches, some cute, fluffy snow. We got over 13 inches of snow, so we've been snowed in for a few
13.
days.
That's crazy.
And you escaped the snow. You were lucky.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's so crazy because we had like so much snow at the beginning of well, I couldn't say it was so much, but it like turned to ice and it took like
Yeah,
3 weeks to disappear. And now it's been rainy. Like Toad is literally a little burrito behind me.
I love him.
He's like he was sad this morning because when it's rainy, he just does not go outside. So, yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I'm sick of that. I want blue skies. I want to see some blue skies.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk books. We're going to talk about You Weren't Meant to Be Human, right? Gosh, why do I keep
Yes.
forgetting the name of the title? You Weren't Meant to Be Human.
I keep wanting to say we weren't meant to be human because this
Yeah,
book traumatized me so much that I felt like I was a part of the book the whole entire time. But yes,
yeah,
we are talking about the second half of You Were Meant to Be Human and kind of like how we felt about the book as a whole as well.
yeah, because this book, like we said in the last video, it was really like a punch to the face when we first started. Like, it's
Yeah,
not what you think it's going to be. Like, you start out thinking that you are going to learn more about the hive, and because in the little synopsis, it said, what was it? It was like Midsummer meets Alien, right?
yes. I thought it was going to be an alien invasion, just straight up alien invasion.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, Midsummer is like very culty, so like a
Yep.
culty vibe with like aliens. But then you find out that aliens are really like these worms and that they like infect people. And you think you're going to learn more about that, but then you just don't. And that's kind of
Yep.
like you realize that it's just all like a red herring, and that's really not the point of the book at all.
I feel like they talk about it briefly in the beginning. They like sprinkle it in through the book. And then at the end, they talk about the hive again. But the whole entire time, you're expecting the hive to come back up, and it just really doesn't. They talk about the gross parts of the hive. They're like, oh, the worms are crawling around. That's it.
Yeah, and I feel like I have so many questions about the hive, like in terms of like people being infected in it, like when they were talking about Stagger, like is he just like have does he just have like worms in his blood? Like how does that work? Like is he just like full of worms? Like or is it just being mentally controlled by the worms? Like
He
it was
remember at
like
one point he did pull a worm out of him. So when I pictured
yeah.
it as like worms crawling underneath his skin because I think Crane mentions a couple times that he'll be talking to him to Stagger, and he'll see the worms like crawling underneath of his skin. But I
Ew,
don't
that's
think
just
it's
so
like
gross.
constantly. I think like every once in a while you'll just see like slivers of worms.
Yeah, that's such a weird like concept for an alien thing, but yeah, turns out it was not really the key point to the story at all.
Not really. No, it was not, surprisingly.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the reviews that people left because we obviously have our own thoughts, and I love it when we see people actually interacting in our little group on Fable.
Yes, it feels so
And
nice.
people, yeah, and like they leave like their little their thoughts and stuff. And so I wanted to read like this one review. Okay, so this is a little snippet of a review from Fathy. So she wrote, the pregnancy horror and the hive weren't just disturbing for shock value. They were used to explore control, coercion, and what happens when somebody's body stops being treated as their own. I kept wishing someone would step in, help him, and save him. And that is so true because that I think is like the true horror to the book is loss of bodily autonomy. Like Crane
Yes.
didn't have a choice in his pregnancy at all.
And I feel like Crane being selectively mute really added to that because not only do you feel like nobody is listening to Crane or listening to Crane's body, he can't verbally express how he feels. So you can tell that throughout his pregnancy, he'll get frustrated with things and he just gives up on trying to communicate in any way. So you just realize that he like has complete loss of his whole body.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. Like, because I think because we get to hear what's going on inside Crane's head the entire time, and
Yes.
we get to hear, you know, the true horrors of everything and how he's feeling, like, you do kind of forget in a way that all these people that are interacting with him, that they're not actually hearing his
Yeah.
frustrations and his like horror, like how he feels about it. Like, they're just like, he's not happy with this, but
Yes.
oh
Uh-huh.
well, when really he's just like a prisoner inside his own mind. Like, it's
Yes.
really sad.
And I mean, they point out the whole, or Crane points out specifically that since he really found out that he was pregnant, he mentioned multiple times that he wasn't planning to be around after the pregnancy. So I really think that he gave up um, since the beginning. Again, when he found out he was pregnant, I really think that he was like, okay, I guess I'm a vessel for this pregnancy. I'm not obviously enjoying it. I don't agree to any of this, but there's nothing for me to do, and I won't be here afterwards. So why does it really matter? Like that's kind of like the vibe that I got the whole entire time, and he just suffers through the whole pregnancy.
Yeah, and I just can't even imagine how like awful that must be, feeling so trapped in that way. And then also, because I mean, like he talks about in the book, just like how, he hasn't showered or, like any basic like hygiene things, like he's like literally just given up, like he's
Hmm.
not happy at all. Yeah, that's
And
such a
I
good point.
and I do think it points out a lot about depression in general too, because I know that lack of typical hygiene is a huge thing when people are really depressed. So I think it just shines a light on how deep of a depression hole that he was truly in. And I don't know, I felt so bad for him the whole entire time. And I know that we talked about this before where like there will be parts where you can be really frustrated with Crane, but the author does a great job at just like breaking your heart for him the whole entire time, that even in the moments that you're frustrated, you just want to hold Crane. Like I just wanted to hold Crane and yell at everybody for him and just be like, listen to Crane, like respect Crane. And Crane wasn't even really, I guess, respecting himself. So it was like nobody was on Crane's side, not even Crane.
Yes, and I think that leads into Vincent's review when he was talking about that. I don't know if you want to read that. Like, I think that's
Oh,
like just
yes.
like the perfect segue for that.
So Vincent's review was, what makes this even more tragic is that Crane never really hated the people who loved him. When he talks about his mom and dad, there's no bitterness there. When he thinks about the Petersons and the life he briefly had with them, it is not resentment. He did not hate the world, he hated himself. The Hive did not invent that self-hatred. It reinforced it. It removed the filter and surrounded him with an environment that fed every negative thought he already had. The Hive did not free anyone, it gave permission. I do not think Crane wanted pain. I think he wanted to be a boy. He suppressed that for so long that it hardened into self loathing, and the Hive made sure the worst version of that self loathing got to win. The metaphor of being trapped inside your skin stops being a metaphor, and by the time he's literally in prison, it feels like the book is just making physical what he already believed about himself.
Yeah, I just thought that was like the perfect way to put that. Like, he really is a prisoner in so many ways. Like, a prisoner of the Hive having to force this pregnancy,
Yeah.
and then also with the self-hatred that he has for himself. Like, it's really heartbreaking when like, I just think the author does such a great job. Like, you really feel for him. And I think that's what makes this book so much more like deep, because you just can't help but have like empathy and compassion for Crane while you're reading all this.
And I think the more that you realize where he's truly in prison throughout the whole entire book, I think that there's so many levels to it. Crane's also a prisoner really in this relationship that he has with Levi. And I mean since the beginning. And I think that when it was just Crane accepting that Levi and his relationship again was this way, I think that Crane was more or less indifferent about it. But now Crane's a prisoner in this relationship with Levi, with his body, in his mind, really with the people around him. And then again, he really can't communicate with people. So it's every level of this was just Crane being a prisoner.
Yeah, and it's like it's all encompassing. Like it just, I don't think I've ever read anything where you just feel like the main character can't advocate for himself because he really
Yes.
can't.
Yes.
Like he's really stuck on like so many levels because I think a lot of times when people like it's almost as if like the hive is your job and like you go home to your significant other and but he can't because his significant other is, a dirtbag.
Yeah.
And it's and then also like he can't advocate for himself in any ways because he's also, selectively mute and all the people that are around him, like it's so heartbreaking and the author really did almost like think of every possible way to make it so that Crane is just
Yes.
stuck. He's just stuck and he literally has no choice in anything that he does.
But the way that it was written, you just kind of ended up falling into being able to, oh my gosh, how would I feel in this situation? Like the author made it very easy to be able to truly feel that horror that Crane was feeling, even though you're not in that exact situation. I think in my review that I wrote that it felt like I was treading water while reading this book the whole entire time. It just felt like you're just treading in open water the whole entire book. There's no let up, there's no relief, there's nothing. It just feels like just dark the whole entire book from start to finish.
Oh my God, literally. And in so many parts, like the abortion scenes and the the fetus scenes and like just so horrific and so like it really just goes to show how Crane was just so far removed from himself. Like the the part where they go to bury the fetus and he has like the trash bag with him with the fetus and that scene was like I was like, what am I reading here? Like, no,
My stomach
Crane, what
turned
are you doing?
my stomach
Yeah.
turned while reading that scene.
Yeah, that scene was so rough. Like yeah. And I think that there's just like parts in this book where it's just like it's not gonna leave me. Like I can't think of forgetting this book. Like I'm pretty sure by the end of this year, I'm gonna remember this book like very clearly. Like this is
Yes.
this is the beginning of the year. Like I know at the end of the year I'm still gonna be thinking about this
Yes.
book.
I finished the book at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. one night, and I remember I finished the book and I sat there on my bed, hands over my face, like tears coming down my face, and I remember waking Vincent up. I woke my husband up at like 3 a.m. and I was like, I need to talk to you about this book because he also read it, and he was like, wasn't even mad that I woke him up. He sat up in bed and he was like, I was waiting for you to finish this book. Like he knew. He was like, I knew what your reaction was gonna be. It was it was hard and I had to go to bed after that. Like, whew.
I know. You texted me and you were like, "Tell me when you finish this book." And like I still had like I think I had 30 minutes left or something the next day, so in the
And it was
morning.
the most like intense 30 minutes ever.
Oh my God, yeah, so much happened in that like those last 30 minutes of the audiobook. I literally texted you and I was like, "What did I just read? What? Like what?" The whole book is just yeah, it's
I
something
feel like
that's gonna stay with you.
and it's hard to put in words. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the last what two chapters of the book, specifically the scene where Crane is giving birth. I felt like did you have any idea where you thought the ending was going to go? Because personally, I thought that they were going to take the baby right from Crane and it sounds horrible, but I mean, it is horrible, but feed the baby to the hive. I thought the hive was basically going to sacrifice this baby.
Well, before we even got there, when he almost has this little like he's trying to help Jess escape, and he
Yes.
comes across his parents, I for sure thought that he was going to leave with his parents.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that, like, but the fact that he somehow is able, like, Jess is able to say, like, no, like, her partner is really terrible. You know, it's much safer if you guys leave, and then Crane will reach out to you when Crane's ready. I was just like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? But again, they're probably right in thinking that because of like the Hive and Levi, like everyone just being so persistent and like, you know, getting what they want. So that's what I thought. And because I was like, this is hopefully gonna just like wrap up really nicely and like Crane's gonna be safe and the baby's gonna be safe. And then when he goes to give birth, like I don't think I thought that the baby was going to be eaten by the Hive. I think I wasn't really sure where they were going until I realized that they're probably trying to find some way to like infect the baby from like so that
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, right? And that was essentially like the whole point of him being pregnant is like being able to infect his baby
Hmm.
from the start, right? So yeah, I don't think I thought that they were going to feed it to the Hive, but because yeah, they were like bringing bodies to the Hive and feeding the bodies to
That's
the
what they
Hive,
were
right?
doing through the whole book. And I do kind of want to like go back to that gas station scene real quick because do you remember when the parents looked at Jess and they were like, "Do I know you?" And Jess was like, no, I don't recognize you guys. And Crane's parents were basically like, you remind me so much of my daughter. And it had me thinking from that moment that I really think that Jess throughout the book was supposed to be this almost personification of Crane before he transitioned. Do you know what I mean?
Sophie, yeah.
Sophie, yes. I think that Jess was supposed to be what basically Sophie would have been. Do you know what I mean? Because I think they breadcrumb it throughout the book, and then really that gas station scene when his parents were like, "Oh, I feel like I know you." I think that they were seeing Sophie in Jess.
Yes, which is I feel like it's something that I don't think I picked up on until you mentioned that to me
Yeah.
when we were talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, I can totally see that now."
Something felt familiar throughout the times when Crane, because Crane would point out certain things, or remember when Crane was very almost jealous and angry, which rightfully so, when the Hive chose Crane versus Jess, and Crane was basically like, Jess is right there.
Yeah.
Crane was basically like, why would I be the one who's pregnant? And I think there was multiple times again where the author was kind of breadcrumbing that Jess was basically Sophie in another life type of thing.
Right, because Crane realizes, like when he meets his parents, he realizes that he could have been very happy if he had just stayed with his parents and came out to his parents, like that they wouldn't have had any judgments, that they would have
Yes.
still loved him no matter what. Like he's having all these realizations at the gas station, and it really breaks your heart because you're just like, why, Crane? Why? What
I was
happened to your
crying.
life?
I was
Because
crying.
you could have you could have been so happy, you know, like, and it really just goes to show like how he has just been trapped in his own mind with his own self-hatred. Like nobody else seems to hate you as much as you hate yourself, and in turn it created this terrible life and this terrible experience.
And I do think that even if Crane wouldn't have been fully happy with himself, I think that he at least would have been loved. Specifically, if you remember when his dad looked at Crane when he realized Crane's Crane, when they recognized him as their daughter in that moment, really, the only thing his dad said was, "You have tattoos and you cut your hair." And I think that was truly the realization for me that his parents loved him no matter what. Because that's really the only thing they saw. They were like, "You are our child. Oh, you got tattoos and you cut your hair." And that was the comment.
And you also pointed out something that I didn't catch, like, because at that last 30 minutes of like listening to the audiobook, I was just like, because there's so much that happened, right?
So much, yeah.
But at the very end, uh, he reaches out to his parents and they call him Crane.
It
Like
was one word.
they
They were just like, Crane, is that
Crane.
you? And then the book ended.
Yes. And I think I was just like it's so much in shock of what just happened with like the hive and the baby that I didn't even catch the fact that they are acknowledging him as Crane instead of Sophie. Like I didn't even catch that at all until
And
you pointed it out and I was like, wait, ah, like
and
so it
what was
really kind
that?
of leaves you with
Like
hope.
it was like 30 minutes? No, maybe what? Let's say like 2 hours later after Crane giving birth, they were really that 2 hours they were driving to their hotel, blah blah blah. Crane FaceTimes them and it was Crane, is that you? Oh my God, my heart wanted to fall out of my chest.
Yeah, that was honestly like after I realized that when you said that, I was like, yeah, that was good. That the book in itself is just something that like it just stays with you. I don't feel like I can say that I enjoyed the book. Like I can't, I don't, I mean, it was just such a roller coaster and you're just kind of like the entire time just like in shock and horror of
Yes.
like all the things that are going on and the style of writing was different for me and so I can't say that I enjoyed it, but I still think I would like recommend it to people. Like it is,
It was a
it's just,
very shocking book. And I feel like you and I read a lot of horror and thriller books, and this one was just, again, it was uncomfortable from start to finish. I feel like this is definitely a book that you would recommend to certain people, like
mhm,
appropriate people, because it is a very dark book. Um, even with the even with the whole scene where Crane is giving birth and Crane, I don't know if we'll get like muted on here, but he unalives his daughter. And I think it kind of pointed out that you're so in shock from that moment. You're like, how could Crane do this? But
yeah.
Crane hasn't even worried about himself through the whole entire book. Crane is not worried
Mhm.
about himself once through the whole entire book. But in that moment, he gave birth to his daughter. He was looking at his daughter, and that was really Crane's full on like sacrifice in his moment where he was like, I love my daughter and this is what I'm going to do for her. So at the same time, you're like, oh my gosh, so shocked by what happened, but you're also like, all in a way, like
Yeah.
it's very hard to explain. And then that scene ends, and I feel like I had whiplash from that. I feel like when you listen, when you're sad and you put on sad songs and you're like, why am I listening to these sad songs as I'm sad? And then you keep listening to sad songs. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? That's kind of like how this book felt. I was just like jaw on the floor the whole entire book. And I'm like, why am I still reading this book? This is wild. And even after I finished it, I was like, now I need to talk about this book. Like, I need to talk about this
I know, but it was 2 o'clock in the morning for
forever.
you.
It was. Oh my gosh. I literally laid in bed staring at the ceiling. I have so many thoughts because this is probably like top three wildest books I've ever read. So, like you said, it's not that you enjoyed it. It was just, did I enjoy the torture of the book? I don't know. I literally don't know how to describe this book. I feel like you and I are both kind of at a loss for words. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so my final rating of the book, I gave it a 3.25 on Fable. While I didn't enjoy it, I still think it's like a very impactful book and I would still recommend it to like an appropriate audience for the book. It's not that I hated it. I didn't hate it by any means. It's a book that while I didn't love it, I can still respect it, you know?
Yes, 100%. I think I
So what
gave
did you
it
rate it?
I gave it a 3.75. But again, I think I just like I apparently just like being tortured throughout a whole entire book. Um in reality, I think I gave it a 3.75 because I've never felt this way through a book. I just remember I kept thinking like, besides being full on disturbed throughout the whole entire book, or just the shock value of this book, the author's writing was so descriptive in a almost like beautifully tragic way without being overly descriptive where you feel like you're kind of like pulling teeth to get the sentence to finish. You're kind of like, okay, I get the idea. The author was not like that. And by the end of the book, I was like, this definitely engraved a part of itself into my brain forever. So I really wanted to, respect that, respect the writing, respect the way it made me feel. This book was not enjoyable in a sense where like I wouldn't recommend it to the world. I'm like, everybody has to read this. Like you definitely need to be in a little bit of like a good headspace to read this book.
Hmm.
But I do think it's a very thought-provoking book. So yeah, I gave it a 3.75.
I think that's a really solid rating. I think we can go over like our little rating system. So we have devised a rating system for the books. So 1 star means we absolutely hated the book. Absolutely hate it. So it did not meet a 1 star. And nobody on like the our Fable app, rated it under 3 stars. Everybody seemed to, it was
I
either 3, 4, some gave it more than 4, like 4.25 or
I think
something.
the average was like 3.75, so it wasn't
Yeah.
it was a good it was a very intense first read, but I feel like it was a
Yeah.
good rating for that book.
Yeah. So, okay, so 1 star is we hated the book. 2 stars is it wasn't bad, but we wouldn't really recommend it maybe to some people, but it wasn't bad. Maybe we didn't really enjoy it. Um, 3 stars is where you enjoyed it. It's a solid read and you would recommend it to an appropriate audience, which I think is very fitting for this book.
Yes.
Um, 4 stars is it's really great and we would recommend it to most people. And then 5 stars is we loved it and everyone needs to read it. So I wonder if we'll get any 5 star books this year.
I hope
Honestly,
so.
this book just sticks with you that I'm just like, I don't know how we're gonna top it, you know?
Remember when we completely went into this book blind? We were like, Midsummer meets Alien. Absolutely, this needs to be our first book. And then
Yeah.
again, whiplash right from the start. I feel like this is an important note to like kind of tell everybody. We're going into these books blind with you as well.
Mhm.
Obviously we're reading the summary and we're getting the vibe, but we haven't read any of these books or any of the books that we like future plan to read. Um so like we're all reading this together and experiencing these books together.
Yeah, which I think is part of the fun because um and I myself I try to stay off of like any book content stuff to not sway
Yes.
me to think a certain way too because I if I see a book that I see is like really, really popular, I'm like, oh, I wonder what makes it really popular. And so I'll add
Hmm.
it to my TBR if it sounds interesting. But like I try not to go into books really knowing a whole lot about them. Actually, I talked about it about like the movie thing,
Oh,
the reviews
yes,
or the
yes,
not the
yes.
reviews, the trailers where the
The
trailers like
trailers,
tell
yes.
you everything about a movie and they don't ever just give you the bare minimum to kind of like get you interested. I
Never,
hate
ever,
that.
ever. Vincent's favorite thing, my husband's favorite thing, is sitting in the living room where I am as well and watching trailers. And I have to leave the room, and I'm like, babe, I can't. It shows too much. And he's like, what do you mean? I love watching trailers. I'm like, trailers are not what they used to be. Trailers before, like you said, with the guy with like the deep voice, was like in another world. And it was like the
Yeah.
briefest trailer. Now it's like showing all the important moments, and you'll be watching the movie and you're like, oh wow, these really big moments were in the trailer. It kind of ruins it.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said about the Sinners movie. I never watched the trailer. I went to the theater totally blind, had no idea what that movie was about, other than I saw a thread saying something about a vampire. That was like the only inkling I had
That
of it.
movie was so good.
It was amazing, but apparently some
So
people
good.
were saying that in the trailer, gosh, I forget her name, but the character, Haley Steinfeld's character, I
Yes.
guess in the trailer it showed that she turns into a vampire.
Yes, it does. No,
Wait,
they were right.
and I was like, I would have been so mad if I had seen that and like already known like when she comes on screen that like, oh, is she a vampire or she's gonna turn into a vampire? Like I would have been so mad.
And I remember I think when I watched the movie, I thought she was a vampire the whole entire time because I think in the trailer they don't show her, at least the trailer that I saw, they don't show her before she's a vampire and then after. They only show after. So when I first watched the movie, I was like, oh, she's going to be a vampire through the whole entire movie, and she wasn't. And I remember thinking that now that you're pointing it out, wow, what a big thing to
I know, why
spoil.
would you share that in the trailer? That's so crazy. But anyways, the whole point of that was that like I don't really read or look too much into books because I don't want it to
Yeah.
be spoiled the way that trailers tend to spoil movies these days.
And
But speaking of
books are
movies,
subjective too, right? Like, how many
true.
times have you read a book where you're like 5 stars for you, or I read a book and I'm like, oh, this is 2 stars for me, and that could be your favorite book and my 2-star read, or my favorite book could be your 2-star read, right? It's like it's
Right, because
subjective.
one of my favorite books is The Catcher in the Rye, and apparently people absolutely hate that book. Like they get a completely different um, theme out of the book, and they think a lot of the qualities of Holden, like they think of him as being like a sociopath, and I'm like, no, he's depressed. Like
Yeah, like
depressed people aren't sociopaths.
yeah. Yep,
Like,
I love that like everybody has like but that's the whole point. That's what you want. And I feel like you want a different point of view from people, right? And I feel like
yeah,
almost, I don't want to call out book talk because I also will watch videos from book talk, but book content has kind of taken that away in a tiny sense where, it's really jumping on the bandwagon of stuff. So, like you said, the
yeah.
popular books, you try to escape from seeing reviews or seeing anything like that because you want to make your own judgment. And then you can always look it up afterwards and be like, oh, I agree with this person when this person was saying about me, or oh, I'm not alone in this thought type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I love dissecting a book after the fact, not before.
Yes,
Not before.
I agree with that.
But speaking of movies, I have thoughts about this. Like if this, do you think that this would make a good movie?
I think this movie would be rated X if it went to theaters. I think it would need to be like you need to show your ID and passport showing up to the theater, especially if they made it like true to the book.
There's
I
no way they could make it true to the book. I feel like there's no way. Like there's just so many scenes.
I don't know how they would do it. I feel like whatever production company took that on, they'd be like, you gotta pick an avenue because there's 5 horrible avenues in this book that are like
Yeah,
traumatizing to the people.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in theory, I think this movie would be very shocking, kind of like how what was it when The Exorcist came out and people first saw The Exorcist and people were running
Hmm.
out of the theater and like clutching their pearls and throwing up and stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of how this book would be. It would be like as a movie, it would truly be just shock value.
Yeah, almost kind of like Hereditary. That did you ever
Yes.
watch that scene in Hereditary?
Yes.
Um, I feel like there's a lot of moments of that in this book.
Yes.
I always wonder whenever I read a book where it's or where the main character, I mean, I actually now that I'm thinking about this, maybe there's not a whole lot of books that I've read where the main character is selectively mute. So, but
Yeah.
a lot of this is happening inside his head. And so for a movie, I wonder like how they would go about
That's a good point.
creating a movie. Like, would they have like narration throughout the movie to kind of get people to understand? Almost like, you know how like in Dexter, he has like a lot of that stuff going on in his head. Like,
Yep.
and they show like the scenes where he's have you seen the edits where they like take out the narration
Yes, I
and
know.
they're asking him and
Yes.
he's just
Uh-huh.
like
Standing there
and he's
silently. Yes.
yes, and
Uh-huh.
it's like awkward silence as he's like, So I feel like it would have to be that kind of movie where you have to really get to know the main character through his thoughts and through the narration
Yes.
throughout the movie. It'd
Yeah.
have to be like one long thing, or maybe it'd be like a series, like a limited series. It'd probably work out better that way. But
Honestly, yes. I feel like, listen, it was a challenging book. I think that it would be a challenging movie or a challenging limited series.
yeah,
And I would still watch it. If it came out, I'd be like, yes, I'm signing myself up for this torment.
yeah,
I will watch it. Um,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, this was such a great first read. I can't believe that this is like, I remember at the beginning, we were just like, oh my God, what did we pick? And now we're like, we saw it through. Actually, it wasn't as bad. Like, this
We did. It
actually
was
turned out to
wild.
be, yeah. I'm really excited to see what the next book pick is going to be. So, as of right now, we've got 2 books in the running
Yes.
in Fable. So, for people that are watching this for future reference, we will have a poll in the Fable app. We're going to select 4 different books that people can vote on. Um, so right now there's 2 books in the lead. So it'll be interesting to see what next month's book choice is going to be. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I feel like every month we're going to try to pick, because I think for March's pick, we really did a mixture of genres. I think we did a horror, a psychological thriller horror book, a fantasy, and like a more thought-provoking book, but like a dark thought-provoking book. So I feel like we're
Hmm.
kind of staying in the like dark aspect. But that way you have options. So it's not just going to be horror every month, or it's not just going to be this or that. You really get to
Yeah.
pick within reason what book
Yeah.
you want.
Within
But there's something
within
for
the
everybody.
realm of, yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Well, yay! We did it. We finished first book club choice down.
We did. It was good.
Cool.
I had fun.
I did too. Cool. Well, we'll see everybody back in a couple weeks after we have made it
Yes.
halfway through our next pick, whatever that may be. So,
It'll be a
yeah,
surprise for us all.
yeah. All right. See you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Bye, guys. See you soon.
Bye.